Welcome to Advisement. I'm Ms. Wiggins.
And I'm Ms. Godwin.
And today we're going to talk to you about graduation requirements.
Hi, all right, so first thing, in front of you right now, you should have 3 sheets of paper. One of the sheets of paper that you should have in front of you is the academic advisement flyer. It looks like this. This is the, shows what requirements you need to meet in order to graduate. You should have a course checklist sheet that looks like this. That has your name at the top with some information on it. Most of you received this through the data chats that we have done so far. If you don't have one in front of you right now, ask your advisement teacher for a copy of one. And the other one is
A handout showing calculation of GPA. And when we start going over this portion, you may want to log into your Focus account, and we'll give you a chance to log in a little bit later if you want to. Otherwise, you can follow along on the paper.
All right, first thing we want to look at and go over is this academic advisement flyer. Like I just said just a little bit ago, this right here is a flyer that gives you information on the mandatory requirements that you need in order to graduate high school in the state of Florida. You'll notice on the front page over here on the right-hand side of the paper, it says 24 credit standard diploma. In order to graduate high school in the state of Florida, you have to have at least 24 credits. And within those 24 credits are certain requirements, such as the first, you've got to have at least 4 credits of an English class of some sort. You need 4 credits in math. And within those 4 credits of a math class, 1 credit needs to be has to be an Algebra 1 credit, and one of those credits has to be a geometry credit. Then you have to have 3 science credits, at least 3 science credits, and one of those science credits has to be a biology credit. Then you go down here to the history, the social studies portion. You have to have 1 credit in world history, 1 credit in U.S. history. You have to have a half a credit in U.S. government and a half a credit in economics. This is required for graduation. Another thing that is required is a physical education credit. You have to have a full credit of a PE, and then you have to have at least 8 elective credits and an online requirement, which most of our students get through the PE portion here at the high school. All right, so this is a nice little handy-dandy sheet for you to look at. So when you're looking at, as you're going through high school and you're looking at the classes that you're taking, are you meeting these mandatory requirements? All right, so looking at this and now looking over here at this course checklist sheet that you have in front of you. What we've done here is we've taken the mandatory requirements from this sheet and we placed it on this sheet right here for you to have. This right here has those mandatory requirements. And if you notice, it's got your name at the top, and then it's probably got some grades in for you that shows how you're doing so far in these mandatory requirements. So the top half of this sheet right here are the mandatory requirements that you need to have for graduation, and right here you'll see the electives, the other classes that you take. So looking at the top left hand, you'll see right here there's 4 Englishes listed where you can write in, or we write in, such as English 1, and then it has the first semester grade that you made in that class, and then the second semester grade that you made in that class. Then you go over here and you'll see the math. Remember we talked about you need 4 credits of math in order to graduate. And within those 4 credits of math, you have to have an Algebra 1 credit. You can see right here where it's listed Algebra 1. Then you have to have a geometry credit, and you'll see right here where it says geometry. Then you'll come over here, you'll see science. You have to have at least 3 science credits in order to graduate. And within those 3 science credits, you have to have at least 1 biology credit. You can see where biology is listed. Come over here to the history portion. You can see where it says world history. You have to have that credit in world history. have to have a credit in U.S. history, half a credit in government, and half a credit in economics. You'll see right here where we list the PE for the PE credit. Another thing that we haven't talked about so far is performing fine arts. You do have to have a credit in a performing fine arts class. And there are multiple ways that we can get that performing fine arts credit. One of those ways is through the music classes like band, music of the world. Our computer classes are considered a performing fine arts. So those of you that are taking digital design and so forth, and the computer classes, they'll cover there. But we can talk more about that later because there's just multiple ways that we can get that. Over here is the foreign language. It's not a requirement for graduation, but those of you that are wishing to or thinking about going to college after high school, it's a good idea for you to go ahead and begin the foreign language. You need at least 2 full years of the same foreign language. This would help in going to college. If you don't have this done before going to college, there is a big possibility that you're going to have to take a foreign language when you get to college. So if you take it now in the high school, you might not have to take it when you get to the college level. So something to consider here.
And that is also required for the Bright Futures Scholarship. So if you're hoping to get those upper levels, make sure you're getting it in for that.
Absolutely, yes. Now it is required for Bright Futures, so if we're looking at some scholarships, you definitely need to get the foreign language done. Absolutely. All right, and you'll notice here the electives where we start listing all the other classes that you're taking here in the grades. If you'll get to the middle bottom portion down here, you'll see this is where we input how you did on the end of course exams that we are required to take, such as in 10th grade, all 10th grade students are required to take the FSA reading at the end of the school year. And you have to pass it for graduation. You have to have what they call that reading concordance score for graduation. So this is something you need to take extremely seriously. And the algebra end of course exam as well. When you take algebra, which is a required class for graduation, at the end of that school year, you're going to have to take the end of course exam that also counts 30% of your overall grade in that class. You're required to take the biology end of course exam and the geometry end of course exam. Same thing. If you notice up here, these are required classes to graduate, and these also count 30% of the overall grade in that class. So these are extremely important. And the U.S. history, correct? U.S. history also counts 30% of the overall grade in that class. So these are extremely important exams that it's coming your way if you haven't already taken them, that you need to take seriously. All right, then down here you'll see below it, it'll say 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. At the end of your school year, let's say at the end of the 9th grade school year, we write in how many credits you have earned and what your GPA is. Another thing to think about and look at and consider is you have to have at least a 2.0 GPA in order to graduate. So on top of all the requirements that you need to meet for graduation within those 24 credits, you also need to have at least a 2.0 GPA. Now at the bottom down here, when you start taking the ACT and the SAT or the PERT and you start getting those scores in, we write them in so we can look at it with you and kind of help you keep up with it and see how things are going. All right.
I'm now going to talk about that 2.0 GPA that you need for graduation, where you can find it and how to keep up with it and even calculate it. So let's look at the third paper that you've got. And again, if you want to look at your own information instead of just the sample that I have here, you can pause the video right now and actually log into your Focus account, go to the grades, final grades GPA panel, and join me once you get there. Okay, now that you've logged in, or if you haven't got your account or you don't have your laptop with you, you can follow along with this handout. There are things on the handout that aren't there that we'll talk about. On the handout at the very bottom, you're going to see where I talk about the different kinds of GPAs that you're going to find on that grades panel in focus. The first thing I want you to notice is, and when you look at them in focus, they are up here in the top left-hand corner. There are actually 3 different GPAs that you're going to see there. The first one I want to talk about is the cumulative GPA. The cumulative GPA is going to include all the classes that you have taken for high school credit. That means that if you were in the 8th grade and took algebra or some other class, but it was counting for high school credit, then those classes are counting also into your cumulative GPA. So make sure that you're looking at that information as well. In order to calculate a GPA, you're going to see at the bottom where it lists that we take these letters that you see and we convert them into numbers. So if you look down in your section down here, you're going to see the classes that you've taken, and then over on the right hand side you're going to see the letter grade that's there, and you're also going to see the grade scale. It's going to list it as either weighted or A, B, C, D, F. So when you look at those, all of them, if you're looking at cumulative, it treats all of those grades as if they are A, B, C, D, F. It does not look at weighted. And so every A is used for 4 points, every B is 3 points, every C is 2 points, D's are 1 point, and of course you get 0 points for those F's. So we add up all of the, take them all, convert them to numbers, and we average it. This is a grade point average. So we convert them all to numbers and then we average those, and we end up with the cumulative GPA, which you see again at the top. So this person that you're looking at has a 3.6 GPA. Underneath that, you're going to see the cumulative weighted GPA. So then when you look at the academic history at the bottom, or the grades at the bottom, those that say weighted are actually going to go up on their numbers, so that the A is 5 points, a B is 4 points, a C is 3 points, the D is 2 points, and still no points for the F. 0 on that, sorry. But again, we're going to average that. And so you'll notice that the weighted GPA is higher than the cumulative GPA. And that takes into consideration all of those weighted classes. Anything that has honors on there is going to be weighted, as well as those AP classes. Anything that gives you college credit is going to be weighted. Anything that you take through dual enrollment is going to be weighted. And then we have some classes that don't have honors in the title but are still weighted classes. The engineering classes, for example, are weighted classes. Ag Foundation is a weighted class. If you're not sure, always go back to that grade panel and make sure that you're looking in that column and it will say weighted under there. So that's how you know if your class is weighted or not. Underneath that is the third GPA listed, and it says extracurricular GPA. Now if you look at this person, and this is a student who has is halfway through 9th grade, and you'll notice that there are only 5 classes listed for this student. Some of our classes, as Ms. Godwin was talking about, some of our classes require an end-of-course exam. Algebra, geometry, biology, U.S. history, we don't give a grade in those classes until you have completed both semesters and taken the end-of-course exam, and then we average all of that together and give you 1 credit only at the end of the year. The other classes we will award credit by semester. So your English class, you'll get a half a credit for first semester and a half credit for second semester. And if you look on here, you'll see the English, but I don't see a math class and I don't see a science class. So this person is obviously taking biology and then either algebra or geometry, one or the other. And so that grade is not going to appear in the academic history until the end of the school year. Well, we still need to know for participating in sports what that grade is, because if you have a lower grade in there, it's going to pull your grade point average down. So if you look at this person for their extracurricular GPA, Their cumulative is 3.6. Their weighted is 4.2. Extracurricular for this person is 3.42, which means that those grades in biology and math are just out there holding, but when we average those grades in there, it actually pulled their extracurricular down there to a 3.42. So make sure that you're aware that even though you don't see it out there, it's still there and it counts towards your eligibility for participating in those sports that you want to be. So make sure you're making good grades because it's there. It'll catch you at some point. All right, so make sure that you're, again, aware that when we look at, also in the upper left-hand corner up here, you're going to see where it says total credits attempted and total credits earned. And again, the attempted, you're going to get a half a credit for each semester and 1 full credit for those EOC classes. And then earned is if you pass the class, then you get a half a credit for those semester classes, and then you won't get that 1 full credit until the end of the year for those EOC classes again. If you take and pass 7 classes every year, then you should end up with 28 credits, and Ms. Godwin said earlier that you have to have 24 credits for graduation, so you'll have plenty. It doesn't matter if you have more, you just can't have less than the 24 needed for graduation. And the same way with the GPA. A 2.0 is the minimum that you have to have for graduation. You can have higher. We want you to have a lot higher. Absolutely. But you cannot have anything below a 2.0. 1.99 does not round up to a 2.0. It stays a 1.99, and you do not walk on graduation day. So we've got to make sure that we're making really good grades. Now, one thing I do want to point out is that earning the credit and earning the GPA are 2 different things. So flip over to the back of this worksheet and you're going to find a student here that has all of the classes over here on the far right hand side are passing grades. And you look at, they've attempted 3 credits, they've earned 3 credits, so they've passed everything. But if you look at the GPA over here on the left, the student has a 1.83 cumulative grade point average, and the extracurricular GPA is a 1.71. So while the student is credit-wise on track for going and graduating, they are not on track for graduating as far as the grade point average is concerned. So it's very important that you're paying attention not just to those credits that you're earning. D's are not good enough. If you go all the way through high school and make nothing but D's in your classes, you'll have 28 credits, but you'll have a 1.0 GPA and you're still not going to graduate. So you have to have both. If you go all the way through high school and make nothing but C's in all of your classes, then you have a 2.0 GPA and you would be eligible for graduation. Again, we want it higher than that even. So make sure A's, B's, and C's are what you're shooting for your classes to help your GPA be high enough that you can graduate at the end of the year or at the end of high school. So what happens if you have a class that you fail or you make a D in? Then we're going to have to retake it. If it's a required class that Ms. Godwin has pointed out to you, one of those English, Math, Science, History classes, then you're going to have to retake it. So if that's not your subject, you just really don't like that class, guess what? Pass it the first time. Then you don't have to take it again. Otherwise, you're going to be sitting in there seeing them again, going through that again. Yeah. So it's really going to be to your benefit to do well in the class the first time and pass it and get it on. Let's go to something that you do enjoy, because when you have to retake a class, guess what we're going to take out from your schedule? Those electives that you want to be in, they're going to be gone because you're going to be sitting in one of those required classes that you have to have for graduation. So make sure that you're making really good grades. Your advisor can talk to you, your homeroom teacher can talk to you, and hopefully you've come up with a plan last time you were in here on how you're going to improve your grades if you are lacking something somewhere. Make sure you're seeing those teachers in the morning before school for getting tutoring if you need help. But also we want you to make sure you're making good grades so you can enjoy your time in high school, taking the classes that you want and being involved in those activities that you want to be involved in. Well, it's time for us to sign off. Thank you for being with us today and have a great day.